whenever, there's not a lot to talk about. But as these grants come up, they have to kind of coincide, because I want to be able to meet the criteria that I've set for ourselves. But, quarterly is fine. 3 times a year actually seems to be working pretty good. Spring, maybe middle of summer, and one at last. I feel pretty good about that. If you have people on here that we've had in the past, and just, for the people that haven't been around, at one time this was a very large group, and it had a lot of people that were influential, very knowledgeable, but they're knowledgeable because they're actively working in their craft. And so I want to be cognizant of their time, that this doesn't pay one dime. I can put all the money that I've made doing this in this tiny little cap right here. Actually, since how I've traveled some uncompensated, it's probably the negative number. But my point is I want to be very cognizant of these folks' time. If we put people on here that are worth having, they're going to be busy people, and I want to be cognizant of that. So the 3 times a year seems to really nobody really bugged that. We had pretty good attendance. I actually think we had better attendance at 3 times a year than we did the 2 times. Seemed like we just kind of got out of mind. So I like to keep it stirred up at least trimester. So that's kind of how I feel about that, Mark. I mean, I'm open if you want to coordinate with Lower Flint or whatever you want to do. We can do that too. But I'm just.
I mean, I think that's pretty well in line with what we're thinking across the state in terms of, especially, and they're not really out years. You still need to be working towards a plan, but you're not reviewing model runs, and you're not doing, it's kind of that transition period, right, that you've already gone through a couple of times. So I think that sounds about right. Maybe a couple of specific.
Well, just keep in mind that we've gone through that a few times. Whoever's going to be on this board will not have gone through that. So
right.
We'll have to use our own experience on that, and it'll only be a few of us. Two of us.
I think having having a couple of specific Suwannee Satilla council meetings in person, and with the Zoom option, we can talk about that too, along with like a joint meeting. So you've actually got 3 in-person touches, and you're not overloading the boat. And we've also got a plan to have some statewide webinars on topics, that apply more generally, water quality stuff, whatever, that will, again, provide opportunities for hopefully new members to get engaged. There'll be more touches instead of just, more than just specific council meetings.
Okay.
One thing, we were on with Dr. Hawkins, he did offer, I don't know, Scott, you probably remember this, we did do a joint meeting with Altamaha, and we did like a council meeting, and then after the council meeting, he had like a technical workshop where he went through some of the latest management practices with ag irrigation and introduced a lot of people to technology and the way they track, the efficiency and things like that. So he did say he was willing to put another one of those together for you if you wanted to take him up on that. Yeah,
for sure. And we also, Gary was at our Upper Flint meeting last week, talking septics and PFAS and all that, and the PFAS discussion is one I know applies statewide, and we're looking hard at that for one of those 3 webinars.
Yeah, we touched on that when that became a topic, or one of the main topics, but we haven't really expanded on it. All right. You want to talk about some of this other stuff?
This is, again, giving Mark a working list if there's any technical topics that he can be tracking down for you. Occasionally you've done, or at least some of the council have done, like facility tours,
Yeah, I've liked those in the past. We did one of those when we went to and had that North Georgia collaborative meeting at the water professionals, and we went and toured the water facility.
Right.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Were you with us? That was a while ago.
Yeah.
Who knows how long I like those kind of things. I know we've done some of that in Savannah, I think, something in Savannah. Anyway.
Well, if I can just, I know we talked about mussels, maybe having somebody come in and do that, or anything else just jumped to mind right away while we're thinking about topics, as far as this technical presentation?
Oh, we'll give that some thoughts, maybe, touch base with you. Trying to think right offhand. I mean, we are making a little shift to water quality from quantity. So I guess we kind of need to, I feel like the mussel discussion is part of that water quality part too, because, I mean, they probably have some effect on water clarity, right? Aren't they, don't they still filter?
Filters.
They're filters.
Yeah. I'll tell you an interesting phenomenon. I mean, we've had a place at Lake Lasher for 40 years. And about, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, the lake was as clear as I've seen it probably in 30 years. And it's muddy, isn't it? It's muddy as it can all get out now. But years ago, they put in a pulp plant up the river, and that's always kept it kind of, there's a lot of fiber in the water, and that's where that brown stain comes from. We used to not have that when I was young. But all that was gone, so I don't know what to attribute that to, like why it cleared up, and actually it clouded back up without rain, because it clouded back up in October and we didn't have any rain. So there's a lot going on in there, you know, so I'd like to maybe hear from some folks. Don't bring board mode here. Just kidding, just tell him I told him that.
We were gonna try to run him back over here, actually.
Yeah, I know, I'll do that. I'll do that.
I'll pass along John's contact information to the guy that we were recruiting for this meeting, and he asked for some more time, but it's, basically they have a new technology that they've formulated a part of their operation, and they've gotten to the point where they've convinced themselves that it might have applicability, you know, beyond how they're applying it, and it has to do with removing, nitrates from the water.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, based on what he was able to share, I think they're still getting their patents approved and everything, but it's gonna be a major, more cost-effective than some of the standard technologies that are being used now.
So my understanding of that is that the concept works and it's proven, and they're just wrapping up the process. They're wrapping up the patents and things to scale up. It's all been kind of small scale. Well, they work in the mining industry, so it's been location specific. So it's on a location size instead of, you know, treating large water bodies. But they feel like it's scalable, and so that's probably the next step. Yeah. That's going to be really, I think that's interesting. That's the Lake Beatrice property that we were talking about a while ago has that dynamic, because so the reason the dam blows out, and I apologize to those of y'all that already heard this speech, but the reason the dam blows out is because the city of Fitzgerald, and the reason why there's not flow problems in that creek in the north, and there is down here in the south, is the city of Fitzgerald puts about 2 million gallons a day of treated groundwater in there. And that, until we started talking about nitrites and nitrates, that it's actually visibly noticeable, like the creek, there's no vegetation, and then downstream of that, it's just like nuts. And it used to not be like that. It wasn't even like that when we were at 1 million gallons a day, but when we bumped up to about 2 million gallons a day, it's just like it was being assimilated probably in a current plant life animal, but now it's being assimilated now, it's just being done by a lot of vegetation. So if we can start solving those kind of little issues, and that's why when he mentioned something about it, I was excited about it, because I think it addresses it. If we can solve some of those, it'll solve a lot of problems for us, I think. I think for the most part, we do a really good job of treating water, and ultimately the nature does a pretty good job of getting the nitrates out. It's going to choke down your streams. So we're getting it out. It's coming out in big green plants.
Okay, I think that may wrap it up for us.
Okay.
Let me just
Awesome.
see.
So,
Oh, wait, I do need to at least pause and say, do we have any